So you release your first album. It's it's mega. It's huge. Triple platinum, three number one hits. Um, what was that like?
I still uh, feel so excited when one of my songs comes on the radio. It's not ego. It's the greatest joy that happens because I know that I'm listening to it. Somebody else is hearing it too. It's on the radio, whatever area that I'm in, they're hearing it too. And they're having memories with that song. They grew up with it or they're just learning it. But it I still cannot believe how fast the time has gone. I still can't believe that that I've had that kind of success, if you want to call it. That just sounds like such an ugly word, success. But I can't believe that all that's happened because I still feel like a kid that's still trying to make it. I really do, and I've never have even remotely thought of myself in the same breath as some of the other singers out there, some of the ones you've named. I still don't think of myself like that, and I hope I never do.
But you have this huge year. You release your first album. It's enormous. Three number one hits. You get named Best New Male Artist. What was that like?
You know, trying to find out why you do something, is I think a big part of the why is important. Whenever the first song I had written that went number one was the song called "Live Until I Die," and I wrote that song for my grandmother. That's the way I grew up: muddy roads, muddy feet. I didn't live on no blacktop street. Every line of that is my autobiography. And when I got my first check for writing that song, it was an enormous amount of money. I thought that a mistake had been made because I was still poor. I still didn't have any money because I was, just trying to make it. And that song had gone number one. And in the first time that went to the mailbox and that check was in there, I opened it up and I just was like, oh my! I literally thought someone made a very gross error. And I called my agent. I said, "Hey," I said, I got this check, and I said I'm really nervous about it. I was even looking over my shoulder. And he said, "How much is it?" And no, I told him how much it was, and he goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "There's a lot more coming than that." And I was like, I couldn't believe it. But the first thing it did was I bought my grandmother a house. I built my grandmother a home because, we very humble beginnings. We lived in a house that she and my grandfather paid $20 for, right out of the Depression.
Mm.
So it was a moment.
You mentioned your grandmother. She played an enormous role in your life. What is one of your fondest memories of her?
I have so many memories with my grandmother. Her name was Mary Elizabeth. I named my daughter after her, Mary Elizabeth. But she was the greatest human being that I've ever known. And she was a saint. She raised kids. My dad was one of them, who, put her through hell, literally. She lost her husband when she was 40. She never dated, never remarried. And she loved me. I knew that I was her favorite. But I think all of her grandkids thought that they were her favorite, but I knew I was. Some of my greatest memories with her, and there's too many to count, but would be feeding chickens. She loved her chickens. And she'd throw the scratch out, and I was 3 or 4, and she loved me so much. And she loved roses, and she had these roses that were called Seven Sisters, and she taught me how to trim them back. Uh, Her blackberry cobbler, I would go pick blackberries and bring them back to the house, and she would make blackberry cobbler. And the smell of it to this day is seriously probably the greatest smell to me on earth, because it gets all those memories come flooding back of being at her table or sitting by her rocking chair. I'd sit on the floor and I'd sing, and she would cry when I would sing. I would sing this song called Sunshine on My Shoulders, and she would just say, please don't sing that. I'm crying now. And I would just sing it that much. I was only 4 or 5, and, but now that I look at it, it just, it brings back a flood of memories. But she was a great lady.
She gave you the name Clay.
She did. There was a movie called Spencer's Mountain, and the actor, one of the main actors on it, his name was Clayboy. And so to my whole family, to this day, they call me Clayboy. And it used to embarrass me to no end in school, because all my cousins would call me Clayboy, and I hated it. I would just cringe, but now I kind of like it.